Ahoy there, James here. So this is part 2 of the video After We Die, where I'm reading through an article, going through and saying what I agree and disagree with, putting my thoughts in and just reading out this article. So just continuing on right after where part 1 finished, where that left off. Okay, so the point is, the process of reviewing one's life is relative. Sometimes you may hear that this review happens in 3 days. That number is symbolic, not literal. The actual expanse of time is your lifetime. You relive it, but will you be conscious of it? Will you be aware of it? What will happen when you replay the events of your life and you revisit your mundane, dull job? Will you respond to it the same way you respond to it now, with boredom and seeking distraction? What about those moments when you suffered, when you were rejected, betrayed, or lied to? Will you identify again with the pain, anger, and resentment? What about those moments you indulged in lust? What about those years you spent identified with porn, identified with lust for another person? What will happen to you when you replay those scenes? When you are dead, will you be identified with them again? Will you demonstrate through this ordeal that you have changed or not? In other words, after you die, you will relive every experience you have had in your life to the finest detail. It will all repeat again. Why? It is not a joke or the cruelty of God. It is a function of nature that is necessary in order to evaluate how the soul changed during its lifetime in the most recent physical body. Did the consciousness change, and if so, how? Did it get worse or better? How does it respond to its karma? Alright, so from all the near-death experiences and testimonies of a lot of people who have actually experienced this stuff, they don't explain it happening like that. It's not that they live out their life, they relive it. It's kind of like they're shown their life, and it kind of happens very quickly. And it also happens in the movie Soul, the Disney Pixar bloody movie, the cartoon Soul. It's worth a watch, definitely worth a watch. There's a lot of links in what happens in that movie, and also in the TV show Moon Knight, I think. There's some links there with what happens after death, with real people's, or I don't know if they're real people, but testimonies from people explaining what happens. It's not like, they live out their life and it literally takes the time of their life, whether that's 10 years, 50, 100, however old they were when they died, or had their near-death experience and actually relived their life. It's different to this. But per chance that you die and you exit the body and then you are reliving your life again, if that happened to me, I'd just go, nah, not happening. Like, I've got all that data there, all that memory. I'm not going to be reliving it again. Nope, not happening. I'm going out. I think I said in part 1, I'm pretty sure I did, my plan is the triple P plan: protection, power, portal. So protecting myself from any outside entities, or any outside force, mechanism, system, nature, anything that is not of my own internal will, and protecting myself from that power, regaining all my memories, all my senses, all my power, my willpower, everything, just bring it all back in. Yes, I understand how I came in here, or the nature of things, whatever that it may be. And then portal, just, okay, alright, creating a portal, or going within, yep, I'm out. Pass right through everything. As in Buddhist cosmology, they call it Mara. Actually, sometimes Maya, the illusion. Very similar word. Yeah, but getting straight out of it all. Okay, because he says here, in other words, after you die, you will relive every experience you've had in your life to the finest detail. All will repeat again. Why? It is not a joke or the cruelty of God. So this is saying that there's separation between you and God, that you are not that God. If you don't think you don't think you are God, okay, that's all right. You will be subjected to the whim of something else which wants to play God, and you will always be a slave to that thing, because there is 100% things out there that want you to think that they are your God. Look at this world. Yahweh, bloody Jehovah, Lucifer, Krishna, Zeus, Odin, lots of things, which, essentially probably all just the same thing, want you to worship them as gods, because if they do that, then you're submissive and subservient to them, right? But if you know the God is within, well, it's a lot harder to be manipulated now, isn't it, right? You hear all these Christians go, oh, you can't do that, that's what the devil did, he thought he was God, and he convinced Adam and Eve to do that and think they were gods. That's naughty, naughty, there can only be one real God, and you must submit and get on your knees and beg for forgiveness. Worship Jesus and God. I don't want to get into it, just fucking disgusts me. It disgusts me so much because I've been there. And I fell into that Jesus trap. Oh, sure, there might be some good things Jesus said, right? I don't think Jesus ever existed as a man in the first place. It was just a plagiarized religion. You can look into that. Eric Dubay has a good video on his YouTube channel of a compilation of lots of different historians and people talking about how, yeah, there's really no evidence for Jesus Christ, the man, actually existing. It was just, and Christianity is just a plagiarized religion from dozens and dozens. It's all the same. It's all the same. It's just got different names and they've changed it all a little bit. All religions are the same, and it's just an astrological sun and moon worship, which has probably got some deeper hypnosis connecting to AI and the Demiurge and archons and that kind of stuff. Really, it's just all hypnotic programming and suggestion to make you inferior, so you are controllable. That's all it is. Right? It is a function of nature that is necessary in order to evaluate how the soul changed during its lifetime. A function of nature? Fuck off. No. That's just another thing that's outside of yourself. I will not be subservient to a function of nature. Like, look at these breatharians. I hold them in quite high esteem. There's people that are breatharians and they don't even need to eat. They don't even need to go to the toilet. Don't even need to drink water. There was this man in India. I watched this short video. You might be able to find it by searching through YouTube or DuckDuckGo of this breatharian, and they put him under surveillance for 10 days in a locked hospital room. He volunteered for this. 20 different specialist scientists in all different fields, and yeah, they saw, because he claimed to have not eaten for 60 or 80 years or something. Yeah, he didn't need to eat, didn't need to drink, but they noticed like his bladder would fill with urine every day, but it would get reabsorbed, about 300 mils or so, reabsorbed back into his system. And I've heard these breatharians, they talk about an elixir. I think it's formed in like the pineal gland or something, this golden honey like liquid elixir that then drips down the back of the throat, and that's what sustains them, gives them a sustenance, nutrients somehow, however that works. And I think that's great. They were able to overcome the addiction of food and the control. Oh man, like the need to have to eat in the Garden of Eden, which is the Garden of Eden, right? And you rearrange the word Eden, it's need, because you need to survive. And that's why bloody, the number of the beast is the human flesh prison, right, encaged in cells in a cage, is 666, which hypnotically, subliminally can mean multiple things. 666, 666, 666, right, gets into the mind to reproduce, 666. That's why Disney cartoons, right, have so much sexual programming, subliminal messaging of sex, right? Because I don't think sex is bad, but sex with reproduction, that just continues the cycle of fucking clown show shit fucks in this matrix realm, just bringing new life and sustaining this matrix for food. Reproducing because you're just creating more produce. That's why they call a baby a fetus, because it's feed us, the dark gods who are not gods, it is parasites, just like the Goa'uld in Stargate. Worth watching that. They're just parasitic serpent-like entities, like a snake, that go into the body of humans, and they use humans as a host, and they pretend to be these gods like Ra, whoever else, and they're just false gods. They're parasites. They're nothing in Stargate without us. And same in this reality. These parasitic things, whatever exactly they are nothing without us. They need us. They rely on us more than we don't need to rely on them at all. So, man, that was a little tangent away from this. So yeah, don't be subject to nature. Just be subject to your will. Not even subject. I don't like that at all. Just be in alignment with your will. His will be done, which is your will. Okay. And karma just means action. Because people can do bad shit, right? But not have any negative karma from it. You could be a psychopath and you've got no empathy. So when you do bad things, right, you have no guilt. Because you have no feelings and empathy. So you wouldn't technically have any negative karma from doing those things. You're only going to get negative karma, which means when you do something bad, you feel bad if you have a conscience. Because the reason you feel bad is because you've acted out of alignment with your true self, which is something, I believe, that respects the consent of other things. Meaning you respect the rights of other living things. You don't initiate violations of consent. I've got other videos that talk about that. Just you can find that on the channel. So, next chapter title here is Retrospection Meditation. Some of you have studied this material for some time. I hope have realized something extremely significant, and that is the importance of the practice of retrospection. Okay, well, let's look up exactly what the definition of retrospection is. The act of looking back on things past, reflection on the past. The faculty of looking back on the past, recollection, the act or the faculty of looking, back, okay. On every retreat, and we practice it on every retreat, so this guy obviously does some retreats. Probably wouldn't go to his retreat, to be honest, but the practice of retrospection is a practice of meditation in which we consciously review the day. In the evening, when you sit to meditate and you put the body in a state of rest, you deepen your self-awareness that you have been cultivating all day long. You deepen that self-presence and self-awareness. You close your eyes and rest your body and start to play back in your mind everything that happened during the day. Not to change it, but to learn from it. To find those things that you should not have done or should not have felt or should not have thought, and you analyze them to learn how to change. No, that's a good practice. That is. No, I mean, the point is to get to the point where you sit down and you reflect and you're like, okay, is there anything I did during the day that I should have done? And you literally go, no. Though, is that possible? I'm not sure. Hey, you gotta be careful. Like, I'm wondering whether to share an experience that happened to me this morning. I will, because it shows a weakness that makes me relatable. I was reversing my van into a car park and it was next to a really nice BMW, and I didn't want to scratch or hit the BMW at all, and I was moving my car because I wanted the solar panel to be in better sunlight to charge up my batteries. It's not fun when they go flat, it's annoying. And I was just looking through my side mirrors because I had my rear curtain closed. That curtain was closed there, so I was just using my side mirrors, and I was mainly just watching the BMW, and I didn't realize there was a big pole behind me, like a big concrete pillar, and I accidentally tapped the back. And the thing is, I was in a really good mood. That was this morning, and I noticed that, oh, okay, it's fine to be in a really good mood, but be careful because you can let your guard down. You become a bit too, oh, I'm feeling good, can't do anything wrong, nothing bad's gonna happen, and then lose a bit of presence in a way and get a bit too involved in the feeling of feeling good, and then dunk, made a mistake. So that's something interesting I learned. It's great, okay to feel good, but still be conscious, still be present. In the article it talks about in part 1, being present, cognizant of the moment. That's very important. And it's going to talk about in this next chapter. We'll get there. If you have spent your lifetime in your physical body training in that way, I'm sure you can see that your experience of the revival of your life experience after death will be very different from someone who never trained in retrospection, because you have spent your whole lifetime reviewing your life, looking over all the things that you have thought and felt and did not identify, not getting sucked into the thoughts, the emotions, the attachments. The person who is training and dies, who has training and dies, is cognizant and begins to revive and relive their life experience, will be aware of it, will know, I am dead and now I am reviewing all my experiences, but I will not be distracted. I will not react with pride, with my fear, with shame, lust, envy, regret. But instead you will know how to be serene, to call up that state of dhyana that you cultivated in meditation, to be serene, at peace, and very cognizant, very conscious. So as those scenes play, you watch them, you learn from them. You will not identify and react. You will have more understanding of your life from that experience. That definitive moment is what we are training for. I go above and beyond that, that's all great, but no, not going to happen, because that's still part of the matrix deception. Because from these first-hand testimonies, which go to Forever Consciousness Research channel, he does a lot of reviews and narrations of many people's testimonies. You can find it all there. There's heaps of information, and what people explain. That's part of the trap. That's what they do, and these entities will guide you through reliving the life review. Then they say, yeah, look what you did here, that was bad, you did this bad, that was wrong, and they make you feel guilty and shameful. You hurt your ex-girlfriend here, you ripped this person off, you did that, you did all these bad things, right? Like, whether or not it was bad or not is besides the point. What they do is they make you feel these negative emotions and then coerce you into doing it again, going back and reincarnating, because you fucked up, you made these mistakes, and you have to fix your karma, your negative karma, right? And then on the flip side, if you were really good, they say, look at all this good karma you've accrued, you helped this person, you did this, you're very special, we have a mission for you. We want you to go back and then be around in this country and this location, and you're going to help this movement grow, and you'll create something, and it'll spread the message across Earth, and it'll help so many people. We want you to go back, okay? This is a very important thing. You need to go back, and so come with me, and we'll help you write the life script, and you can go back down, and you can have a massive impact. And ego. Oh, you're a good boy, very humble, special mission. Bullshit. So, yeah, just don't do that live review at all. Go, nah, not happening. If you want to do it, you can fucking do it once you're back in the void and you've bypassed everything, and then you can decide. We want to get back there for total clarity first. I just wanted to share a few comments I wrote in this Telegram group about this specific topic of exiting the Matrix. A few interesting points I think you might find valuable. So, in that group, they were talking about the pleroma, which is a Gnostic term for, I'm pretty sure basically it just means that which has been created. And there was a discussion about whether the pleroma, all that has been created, right, outside of that zero-dimensional field, whether or not it's being corrupted or contaminated, infested or something. So I just wrote here, depends what you mean by pleroma. Whereas the origin point, the zero-dimensional field, source, cannot be corrupted, as anything that happens must be projected outside of it. If something is to be something, and if something exists, then that something must have at least one dimension. If it has at least one dimension, then it has to be projected outside of the zero-point dimensional field source. Because you can't have something that has dimensions, whether time or space or subject or object exist in a place where nothing exists. Well, a place where only those things which are zero-dimensional, such as peace, consciousness, and willpower, those things, those three things, for example, peace, consciousness, willpower, they don't require dimensions to exist. Yes, a thought or universe, a realm, a world, people, dogs, cats, buildings, energy, light, sound, all require dimensions to exist and function. So in theory, they must be created in a place that is not the origin point, in a virtual place. Because of course it still is happening within that origin point, it's happening within, but it's not. It's basically a paradox. For example, the computer hardware runs the software, but the software is separate to the hardware. The hardware projects the software outside, inside of itself, which is a rough analogy. And then I just asked the guy to define pleroma for me that I was speaking to. And he said, basically, that which has been created. And I said, okay, yes, it's a possibility that could be entirely corrupted. Everything that has been created could be, not just in this realm, but the multiverse, so infinite different dimensions and parallel realities, astro-etheric realms, all that has been created outside of that origin point, it's possible it all could be corrupted. Although there would have to be evidence to support that. We know this world is corrupted, but everything else, don't know for sure. But I mean, I'm not taking that risk upon death. I'm going to the highest high, or the innest. After death, I plan on bypassing all that is creation and going back to the origin point, the place where anything that is something, everything that is anything, originates from. Only there can there be total clarity and awareness of the totality and truest nature of reality. Once back there, then informed choices can be made what to do next. That place has not been corrupted. Well, not for me anyway. Want to know if it has for you? Then simply go within. You can find that state of existence, even for 2 seconds within, then it is there and it is uncorrupted, essentially because it is incorruptible. Only that which is outside of it, like the pleroma, or, in simple terms, that which has been created, can be corrupted. And I'll elaborate. When you go inside and you meditate, find that place of no thought. Boom, you're there. 1, 2, 3 seconds, 4, 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever. However long you can maintain that. That can't be corrupted. It's just that peace. There's nothing. No thought, no sound, nothing. Just inner peace. Which is, and there is still consciousness and observance of the peace, because there can't be a peace if there's nothing to observe it. You observe it, and there's willpower, like the ability to continue that focus on that peace, or the ability to manifest something, anything, the possibility and potential for all other things from that point of nothingness. So you're there, and then you think about drinking mineral water, or playing Xbox, or going for a walk, or a dog running through a field. That all comes from there. And as soon as you're thinking about something, or there's something, a thought, a sound of you narrating inside your mind, or an image that is not in that zero-dimensional field anymore. It's outside, it's projected outside. In a way, it's still happening in that. It's contained within it, but it's outside. It's like a virtual. It's created outside of it. Outside, inside, but it's not really it's not zero-dimensional anymore, so it's created outside. That can be corrupted. You could think of a corrupted thought, whatever, anything. Well, what's it mean by the word corrupted? That which should not be experienced, perhaps, right? Pouring boiling water on my arm. Yeah, I don't want to experience that. That's a corrupted thought, for example. So, or stealing my next door neighbor's car. Yep, corrupted thought. That's outside of the zero-dimensional field now. That's something that's in creation. You can have corrupted thoughts. You can have thoughts that are not corrupted, but it's not the zero-dimensional field that can't be corrupted. Not from my knowledge or knowingness or experience at this point. It doesn't seem to be. Sure, you can have an infinity of things that are corrupted outside of that zero-dimensional field, the origin point, source, God. But you can also have an infinity of things which are not corrupted, and an infinity of things in the middle that are half corrupted, half not, and that are ambiguous. You can have times infinity. And then one more comment here. I said, for exiting the Matrix realm, I don't know if you can ever be prepared enough. It's like being a great boxer going into your next fight. Even if you do win, there could have been something extra you could have done to prepare better and won even easier. Remember this. Remember, this place was designed as a cage for spirits, not NPCs. The enemy here that which opposes our freedom, whatever exactly that is, not in the comment, but here, it could be artificial intelligence, it could be the archons, demons, jinn, reptilians, greys, insectoid, mantis beings, it could be just people, bad people in the cabal, it could be aspects of ourselves, it could be like thought form egregores, it could be the devil himself, it could be, I don't fucking care what it is exactly. I mean, well, actually I do. That's very interesting. The more you know about the enemy, the more you know about yourself, and you can know not to be like that as well, and reinforces yourself. So it is good to know that stuff, but we know enough that this thing is parasitic, it is vampiric, and it feeds off us. It uses people for 3 different things with spirits: food, drugs, entertainment. That's the appearance of why this prison farm planet exists, right? So for its survival, its entertainment, its enjoyment, whatever. So that's why I just said the enemy here, that which opposes our freedom, knows our nature and weaknesses better than we know ourselves. I test myself daily on new ways of how I would deceive myself from returning back to source after the moment of death. So when I die, boom, what if I was the entities on the other side, what would I do to try and convince me? And coming from the perspective that they know me, right? Maybe they know me better than I know myself. They go, oh, okay, he knows it's a farm and a prison, he knows this and sovereignty. Okay, what can we get him? How can we trick him still? Is there anything we can do to sway his mind? That's what I think from that point of view. Fuck, that's a powerful thing. The amount of brainwashing and conditioning here is astronomical, as we know. We would all still be negatively programmed about something. Me, you, still are, right? Or many things, some of which we are aware of and some of which we are not. The more deprogramming we can do, the better, of course. Be confident and know that you will leave this realm, but never stop practicing. The greatest samurai does not become so and then cease his practice. He knows that he can always get better and improve. To think otherwise is a foolish mistake, and I know this because I know personally one of the greatest samurai in the world, which is pretty cool. This old Japanese guy, yeah. Anyway, that's interesting. I mean, and he still practices and he teaches, and he's like, I don't know, 70 something. I mean, that's the way this place has been designed, because it's never ending. There's always something else to learn. Because when you come from infinity of potential and possibility and knowingness of that origin source point, because knowing and experiencing something, it is different. I might read out another comment about that. I wrote, knowing something is different to experiencing something. I know driving a Ferrari would be bloody awesome, but I haven't experienced it. I'd like to. I know bungee jumping would be scary and exciting, and I'd like to do it, but I haven't experienced it. I know, I know having sex with my dead grandma's corpse would be something disgusting and gross, and I don't want to experience it. Just flat out no. Some things don't need to be experienced. I know lots of things, right? I know surfing could be fun and exciting and scary too, because I know I could have a great time doing it, but I know I could also drown or get eaten by a shark. So what's the choice? Take the risk or not? Knowledge and experience. It's interesting, eh? It's like how not knowing and thinking is different. If you know the address, you know how to drive home from work, right? But when you get given directions to a friend's place and you don't have Google Maps, for example, you got to think about it. They said I got to turn here and go there. Or when you first move into a new place, you have to think about the roads, how to get back home. You're thinking, it's a process. It takes time and concentration, all these other things. Where knowingness, it's different. You just know. You don't need to think about it. You just boop, you go. You know where it is. My point was, we've forgotten everything that we used to know, and we've got to remember it all. And because we don't have direct access to that well of the void of infinity, there's a lot to learn when approaching it from this perspective of a spirit coupled to a soul, implanted into an etheric astral body, and then a physical body with a brain, and then limitations of language and speaking and reading words at a certain speed. Say for instance an AI would be able to read all the world's books in, like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something, right? Go through it and it's got all that knowledge, whereas it's different. We've got a certain amount of input per second that we can consume and comprehend. And so via doing that, and the reason why it's like that is because it's never ending. It's eternal. It can keep you hooked. It's part of this game, or this process of this simulation to keep you here. There's always something else to do, right? Even though it is a limited infinity, there isn't an infinity here, right? So what do I mean by that? Like, there are infinite possibilities of what I could do in the next moment. I could pick up this. I could pick up this. From that moment to now, I could do this. I could have done this. I could have done this. There's an infinity of possibilities. I could go for a walk, a swim, climb up a tree, do this, do that, right? But it's limited because I want to fly. Can I do that? No. I want to shapeshift into a duck. Can I do that? Well, no, I can't. Limited infinity, right? There's different scales of infinity. For example, counting from 1 to infinity, sure, okay, that's infinity, but I can think of a bigger infinity already. Going 1, 1.1, 1.2, up to 1.10, then 2, 2.1 to infinity, right? It's a bigger infinity, which is weird, but it's true. Okay. So, I mean, that's the way this place is being designed, because it's never ending. There's always something else to learn, more money to be made, a better body to be built, another veggie patch to be planted, another relationship to be had. It's designed to be eternal. And the reason is, when at the death point, these entities will coerce you to go back. We know you wanted to have kids. We know you wanted to do this in your life. Or how about you come back as a woman this time? Or this, or do that. You've got all these things you wanted to do, you always thought about. Here's the opportunity to go do it. Fantastic. We're giving you this free. Just be a farm animal, a slave, and go do it. There you go. We've been programmed for a long time. Overcoming the programming is just the beginning point. Building atop of that is what it's really about. So unshackling the mind from all the programming, and then, well, in a way, it's like, yeah, once you've removed all the programming, then you're left with the truth. But you can build on top of that still as well. At the end of the day, you are sovereign. Alright, that's enough of my comments. Back to the article. So, are you paying attention? We talk a lot in this tradition about initiations, creating the bodies, sexual transmutation, astral experiences, jinn state, awakening chakras. I don't fucking like chakras at all. Remove that shit. Tony Sayers on YouTube talks about removing chakras. Not a big fan of them. They just seem like they're hook-in points for these astral entities to feed into us easier, because there's 7 of them, or perhaps even more, and it makes our energy diluted. Otherwise it'd be too potent, too much of it for them, and they can't dilute it. And I guess in a way they get a different flavor from each. It's a different color. There's a different, guilt, fear, anger, shame, heart, love, care, all, intuition, all this stuff, and they get a different feast from each of these points when they hook in. So that's one possibility. And then also it's like, why would you want all these different access points that can become blocked, stopping your flow of energy? It just doesn't make sense, because there's some analogies. In the TV show, the cartoon Avatar, there's a little 10-minute explanation of the chakras, and that's probably the best explanation of chakras. And it talks about how the chakra points can get blocked. They're like dams and access points, and they can get blocked by certain emotions. It's like, well, why would I want that? That's just a problem. I don't want that. I want my energy always 100%, always full, always flowing, and just there, just working. Not like, oh, there's this problem, I've got to unblock my chakras and do this and do that. Nah, not a fan of chakras at all. No, there might be some merit to it, but I haven't, not a fan of them. Pranayamas, breathing exercises, Tibetan exercises, all kinds of different techniques and tools and experiences, but none of them matter as much as what happens after you die. Whether you have the solar bodies or not, I don't know what that is. If you pass through that state of sleep, these solar bodies cannot do you any good. Do not think that solar bodies or initiations will guarantee that you will be awake. They do not. You cannot use the tool if you do not remember you have it. I don't like the idea of a solar body. He spoke about lunar bodies before as well. That's just sun and moon, crazy materialistic worship stuff. Again, I don't really like the idea. There are many people who have solar bodies and they're completely asleep. The solar bodies do not awaken your consciousness. They are just vessels, vehicles. They do not guarantee you anything. Masters fall, Buddhas fall because they become identified. Sure. What matters is our state of attention. That matters more than anything. I say that because it is easy for the single people to feel a lot of anxiety because they do not have a spouse and they feel so upset. I am not going to create the bodies and raise my kundalini. I will never make it. Yeah, as I said in part 1, I'm not a big fan of that idea. Then the married, I'll rephrase that. Sometimes people get anxious because they're single and they're like, oh, if only just I had a partner. And then the people who are married or have a partner, they think, I'm married, I cannot do it with this burden. My spouse makes my life too hard, I am suffering too much. Isn't it like that, eh? I want someone. Oh, I don't want anyone. They're tying me down, they're an anchor. These are excuses. What matters is the state of our consciousness. I'm going to close that. There's too much light background. Yeah, that's better. What matters is the state of our consciousness. When you die, your martial state does not matter. Whether you have the bodies or not, you are in the situation you're in. Take advantage of your circumstances. Do not be distracted by theories or beliefs. Pay attention to what is, be present, and learn to be present and serene in every experience of life. Okay, I want to know what serene means exactly. I know it's like harmony, peace, but content or composed, untroubled, unaffected by disturbance, calm or peaceful.
Serene.
Unclouded, fair. And apparently Serene is one of the world's largest private super yachts as well. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, next chapter here. The transformation of impressions. From moment to moment, our mind is surging. Our heart is surging. It is never still. It is never at rest. Because we are always having new impressions enter into us. And those impressions come into the senses and create reaction because we do not transform them consciously. We might halfway do it sometimes when we remember to do it, but most of the time we do not remember. The mind is constantly surging with new impressions, new sensations, new thoughts and feelings. What are those reactions churned up in the mind during our daily life? If we are not managing them, if we are not conscious of them and transforming them, then we are asleep. So you can see that in the majority of humanity, these NPCs are just sleepwalking. That's why, what do they call them in Game of Thrones? Ice Walkers or... I can't remember. White Walkers. I wonder why White Walkers. It's interesting. Oh, probably white for snow and ice. Might have something, I don't know, light. Okay, when we go to sleep at night, the same thing happens. We have a lot of perceptions that happen to us in the internal worlds. But we are not cognizant of that. Those impressions flow into us and the mind reacts. We become identified with all our desires. That is why we dream about expressing our anger, feeding our lust, feeding our envy. Our dreams are a reflection of the contents of our mind. If we die without learning how to transform those impressions, we will pass through these 3 bardos of death, reality and rebirth in the same way. We will pass through the recitation of our life experience in the same way. Just as today when someone criticizes us and we feel pain in our heart and we feel anger, resentment, or shame, or a blossoming of pride, the same thing will happen after death. Okay, this next chapter is Judgment After Death. If when after we, apologies, if when after death we relive our life experience and the same reactions emerge in us and we become identified with it all again, it proves that we have not changed. The danger of this experience is that after the review of our life's experience, we are judged, but not by a judge who is sitting up on a throne to condemn us. Well, honestly, in most, not most, but many of the NDEs where people do get judged, it is by someone up on a throne in a courtroom, and there's multiple of them. There's the whole intimidation factor, just like they do down here in court. They're above you and they've got the whole room set up and they do judge you. But at the end of the day, they just know how to manipulate you to judge yourself falsely, or through a skewed perspective, or their perspective they put onto you and they get you to do it. They're just like the best used car salesmen in the world. Well, multiverse, yeah, whatever. That is not what a judgment is. Apologies. We tend to think of judgment as a person of authority with a very cruel face sitting up on a high chair eager to send us to hell. Well, that's true. That is not what judgment is, apparently. Judgment is simply an acknowledgement of the facts. Judgment is the exposure and examination of the facts. Your good intentions do not fit into the equation. What are judged are the actions of the soul. We have all seen the ancient Egyptian illustrations of Anubis with his hand on the scale. Because what they do, they set up this paradigm of they know more than you, they're more intelligent than you, they're more conscious, they're better, they're more advanced, they're superior to you and you are inferior. It's just, that's not the case. It's just they know more because they have access to that knowingness, whereas we were coerced into cutting that off through the exchange or the gift of experience from a place of knowingness. We were coerced through wanting to experience something, and that something was this world. Anyone of spirit, it's kind of like we're all the same intelligence. No one's smarter than the other. It's just like, what do you know? What don't you know? Like, in a way, yes, intelligence does exist here. It's the ability to, change your mind, be open-minded, and to direct your curiosity in a way that's going to be most beneficial to coming to true statements or discovering fact, in a way. Okay, I'm going to continue. We have all seen the ancient Egyptian illustrations of Anubis with his hand on the scale. On the scale are balanced two trays. On one is a feather and on the other a jar. I don't know if we've all seen that, but that symbol is very deep. Facing Anubis is Ani, the soul, the disincarnated person who is there to face Anubis. Some people call him Anubis. I say Anubis. And his soul weighed. Anubis does not do this out of cruelty. He does it out of love. What a load of fucking shit. I spoke to a person in real life who had his NDE, the guy with the skateboard, and he came face to face with Anubis, and Anubis put his hand into his chest and pulled out his heart and put it on the scale, weighing next to a feather. That's the common thing. I think you'll even see that, in Moon Knight and perhaps Soul, that movie, not sure. But that seems like it's an apparently quite common thing. But it's like, if I was faced with that, I'd go, no, fuck off, don't touch me. Like, how dare you reach over? Even though he had like one of those protoplasmic light bodies, the illusion of still withdrawing the heart and putting it on the scale still occurred. Like, no, not gonna happen. Like, I am my own judge, jury, executioner, and I don't even want to do that because I don't believe in revenge and punishment necessarily. I believe in remedy, resolution, and rehabilitation. Yes. Anubis. Here. Show you. Jackal-headed Egyptian god of the dead. Oh, actually, before I was even aware of any of this reincarnation, soul trap stuff, and about really much at all. Oh, that's still blurry. That's right. I was in Peru doing ayahuasca. I was going through what one might call a dark night of the soul, but that was only stage one of it. and I was suffering in suicidal depression for 6 months, and I was trying to figure out what I could do about it. I was relentlessly driving forwards, trying to figure out how to ease my suffering, and drinking ayahuasca was something that I wanted to try after hearing Graham Hancock speak about it. And I overheard an Aussie dude at this retreat, and he was talking about how he smoked DMT and he went into this realm, and Anubis was telling him that there's a reincarnation soul trap, a trap after death that seeks to suck your soul into this wheel of samsara for eternity. And I thought that was absolutely nonsense when I first heard that. I was like, yeah, I just overheard it in passing. I was like, yeah, okay, interesting, but yeah, I don't think so. That would be terrible, you know? Like, I feel like killing myself. If I feel like killing myself, I don't want to have to come back here. What's this bullshit? So yeah, I heard that a long time ago, and I've heard that whole Anubis thing from multiple people firsthand. Many people have the impressions of Anubis as a tyrant god because he is the god of the dead. He is not a tyrant. Anubis is a Buddha of compassion. I don't know what the fuck this guy's been smoking. A great compassionate angel, a great master, a master. What do you mean by master? It's bullshit. That's why, like, anarchy is so important to learn, because once you realize that, you don't need authority, right? This whole master mindset comes into the mindset of needing authority, which means I'm superior, you're inferior. You're inferior, he's superior. All that nonsense. If I wanted to go and train with a great samurai and have him as my teacher and learn from him, I don't do it because he has authority. I do it because I respect his experience and his wisdom and his ability to do what I want to do and to teach me. My sister's a really good barista. If I wanted to learn how to be a barista, I'd go work with her and I'd listen to what she says, and I'd follow her prompts, right? Not because she has authority or she's the boss of me, but because she knows more about that particular thing I want to learn about. So it's just, you listen to someone out of respect because you know that they know more about the thing you want to know about. It's simple. No authority necessary. It's not needed. None of this master bullshit. Unless it's some kinky sexual shit. Other than that, it's weird. No. These two columns, it says here, his job is to balance two columns to keep the temple standing, severity and mercy. Ugh. These two columns always have to be in balance with one another. He is the god of the scale, who balances the good versus the bad, the harm we did versus the good we did. The other meaning there is that the feather is the mind and the jar is the heart. He checks the balance of our heart and mind. You see on that diagram I showed you, heart, mind is what goes into the internal worlds after death. Not the personality and not the body. The heart and mind is what Anubis measures. That was on like that Kabbalah-looking tree of life in part 1. This judgment happens in the 6th dimension, which is a world of objectivity. There is no ego there. There is no partiality. There is no tyranny. There we find only objective, clear facts. Well, it appears there still is tyranny, and there still is ego there, because these things are of ego. An ego could be an egregore, like a collection of thought forms that has become conscious, manifest of itself. Maybe, yeah. But there definitely is ego there. When you listen to, is it Michael Newton's Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, they have this whole spiritual hierarchy up there of all these masters, and they're even color-coded. And we had color coding in the army. Like when you go through Kapuka for basic training, I was in the army for fucking too long, 3 years, so it felt like 30. Oh man, the hierarchy and disillusioned, fucking egotistical megalomaniacs there is absolutely disgusting. So far gross. They have color coding like blue tab, red tab, gold tab, you know, and then you want to get the higher colors because it means you're better. That's what they do in this life in between lives, when they're re-indoctrinating you and giving you a break and allowing you to recoup your energy, so then they can just take it again once they get you farmed down here or wherever they want to put you, and you accept and accept their offers of suggestions. Yeah, there's definitely ego, right? in those realms. When the disincarnated soul has passed through the review of their life's experience, the soul is brought into the courts of law in the sixth dimension in the temple of Maat. M-A-A-T is an Egyptian word that means truth and justice. If you're honest with yourself, you should be squirming in your seat right now, because what it means is that all the things that nobody else knows about you are laid out before the court. Though I disagree with this happening in their system, this is a good thing to do internally within yourself, though. Because what it means is that all the things that nobody else knows about you are laid out before the court. Every detail, everything that no one has ever known is visible to the courts of law, visible to you, visible to your innermost, to your divine mother, and to all the judges that sit in the divine court. All of your actions are weighed on the scale, based on the results of that precise mathematical analysis of your karma, cause and effect. It is determined what will happen to you next. As I said, I totally disagree with letting something outside of yourself do that to you, but you doing it to yourself right now is a great thing. You can definitely do that within yourself, and you think, okay, everything about me, all these secrets that I hold within myself that no one really knows, what if people were to know? How would I feel about that? Would I care? Why would I care? Would I feel shame, guilt? Would I be afraid for them to know who I truly am underneath the visage of needing to fit into society and behave and act a certain way? My deepest, darkest fantasies, or those secret things no one else knows? Like, it's good to really delve deep into yourself with that. I'm gonna wipe that with my seam. I think there's a bit of oil or fingerprint grease or something in there. Yeah, that's better. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Therefore, whatsoever ye have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light, and that which ye have spoken in the ear and closets shall be proclaimed upon the housetops. The three possibilities after death. Have we earned entrance into the heavens to have a vacation? Just disgusting. Earned. You don't have to fucking... Well, I mean, in a way you have to earn it because you have to work to remember and learn all this stuff, but you already deserve it. It's like trying to say you have to earn it, you have to be worthy of deserving it. No, it's just... what you are needs to return to what you are in a state of being what you are, fundamentally. Everything else is a lie. Have we earned entrance into the heavens to have a vacation? And a vacation is temporary. What he's saying is, like, you only temporarily get to enjoy heaven, then it's back to earth, back to fucking hell. Do we have any initiations? Do we do any serious spiritual work on ourselves? Are we even aware of being in the court of being dead? Or are we, the dead person, in such a bad situation karmically, but with just enough good deeds and just enough will to change, that we can be given one more body, one more chance to try and work on ourselves? They wipe your memory every time. Imagine going to school, yeah, learning English, and every night when you went home you forgot everything you'd done the day before. You're starting with a blank slate every time. Like, because they do multiple memory wipes, and sometimes people, you know, it doesn't work in totality and they remember little snippets here and there. For me, I can't remember anything at this point. Most people don't, because that would ruin the whole fucking facade of this illusory world. And at the same time, like, say for instance you created your own, I don't know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but your own world to experience, right? You probably would want to forget that you are God, per se. You are everything, right? It's like you have your favorite movie. What if you could watch it again without remembering what happened? Like, you could watch it for the first time, or your book, or your first kiss, your first love, the first time you drank a great bottle of kombucha, or went surfing, or something, right? It'd be cool. That's the fun of it. So It's not that forgetting who you really are to remember what you are and who you are again is necessarily evil. It's just that this world is fucking evil. It's not that specific process. It's just that you have to be very wary and cautious of that. Because perhaps one theory, I don't think so, but perhaps this world was initially designed to be good, and then it got hijacked and infiltrated and became evil. Though I sincerely doubt that, because you look at the very nature of everything here, it's parasitic. Like, we need to eat food, we build things out of the carcasses of the dead, this surrounded by skeletons. Like, everything is wood and trees and minerals that's been ripped up from the earth, like killed and destroyed, and we've used to build and create things instead of having, like, it's just very death-like. And it's not that death is necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, in this world, death is linked to suffering. Like, there's pain. If you were to play a game of paintball, right, and there's only a little bit of pain each pallet you get here. Or if you play Halo Xbox, right, and verse each other, there's death, but you don't feel any of the pain. It's like, it's okay. Like, if you were to live in a world, right, that you created yourself for 40 years and then you died, but it was like, beep, like, oh, I'm dead. Oh, I remember everything now. Oh, man, that was so cool. And you're like in a holding space, and you're like, oh, do I want to go back to like my original source outside of time and space? Or do I want to play this game again? Do I want to create a totally new game? Do I want to go and enjoy someone else's game, someone else I trust, right? Who has earned that trust? Like, trust needs to be earned. You can't just trust someone or something without there being experience and total knowingness. So that's what's the fucking problem with this, is people trust Jesus. You never met Jesus. You don't know him. You've read about him in a book that someone else wrote. He didn't even write it. I trust this person I've never met. I trust this politician I don't know. This prime minister. That person. You don't know them. What the fuck? That's literally totally insane. It's batshit fucking crazy. You trust your partner or your dad or your brother, your sister, your best friend, because you know them and they've earned your trust. They have done things that have shown you that they can be trusted, because they've been put into situations where they could have broken your trust and they didn't, time after time. That's what trust really means. Trust isn't reading a book about someone. Like, even me, you don't know me. How can you really trust me? I'm not saying to trust me. I'm saying to listen to the information I'm sharing with you, and then come to your own realizations internally, your own self-gnosis. Go through the words and the information I share you, catalog it and compare it, correlate it to other people speaking about the same topics. Then you come to your own conclusions, your own self-gnosis, and the self-computation, figuring things out. Very wary and cautious of trusting things which you know nothing about. Like channeling and getting transmissions from sources are unknown. Very wary and cautious of that. You have to be, because trust gets absolutely abused in this world. People can't even trust each other in this world. They need bloody contracts and trust, like funds and entities and all this stuff, because they can't trust each other. It's disgusting. Disgusting. Comes from scarcity. That's one of the things, and survival, the need to survive. People rip each other off anyway. Okay. Or third, is there no hope? Have we demonstrated absolutely no intention of changing, and we are only getting worse, only making people suffer? Should we be sent into the lower realms to be purified? These are the three options of the court. The only one who can answer what can happen after you die is you. I agree with that. It all comes down to what you have done with your time, done with your energy, done with your life. Sure, in this, there is no use for fantasies. There is no use for affirmations or believing that we're a good person so God will forgive us. It's like, what do you need to be forgiven for? What the fuck have you done that you need to be forgiven for? If you have done stuff you feel guilty about in your life, well, forgive yourself. How do you do that? Well, know that you made a mistake in the past because you only acted with the information you had available at that current time. You fucked up. Know that you won't do it again. Prove it to yourself with evidence by changing your actions. and behaving differently. I've gone through this personally. I've done things I'm not proud of in my early history, and I don't do that kind of stuff anymore. So I've shown myself I can change, and I know that. A very different man to who I used to be, and I don't feel guilty at all for what I used to do. I did for a while, but then I went through a real dark night of the soul, like that one I mentioned before where I was suffering and went to ayahuasca, suicidal depression for 6 months. That was just the mini one. That was a little one compared to the real dark night of the soul I went through. Oh, that's another video. That was fucking trial by fire. That was beyond suffering. Suffering was like a little pinprick compared to what that was. But on the good side, I became a lot stronger, and I felt like I had already won going through that. I'll just briefly mention, it was a psychotic event. I smoked way too much weed, and I went into a mental psychosis for multiple weeks. That was catastrophic. But I burnt up, and I cleared a lot of guilt as well, which was fantastic. So anyway, another video I think for that one. God forgives every soul once the possibility of the crime, or just of crime, has been removed from that soul. If you don't have the potential to commit crime, you are a slave. Every single one of us has the ability to pick up a gun and shoot someone, or to stab someone, or beat someone, right? The fact that we don't do it means we are a good person, okay? If we lack the ability to do that, it does not mean you are a good person. It means you are a slave. Possessing the ability to commit evil, right? But then choosing not to do that. That's what shows character. That's what shows morality and justice and truth, that kind of stuff. It's Jordan Peterson says, like a meek and tame, a lame man is not a good man. A very dangerous man who is able and ready or capable of committing great violence, but who has that under control, that is a good man. I have a friend, pal actually, and he is a samurai as well. He's the best martial artist I've ever seen in my life. And I know, I'd like not to admit it, but his martial arts abilities are far beyond mine, and as they should. He's studied for a lot longer, and he's older. And especially with a sword, if it was me versus him with a sword, he'd kill me in a couple seconds, right? But he doesn't do any of this stuff. So it builds trust. Like if you make friends with a dragon and the dragon doesn't eat you, like you kind of feel like there's more trust there between if you're friends with a cat. Like, how do you really, like, it's hard to fully trust a cat. Cat can't do much against you, but a dragon could eat you, burn you with fire, but yet it doesn't. Well, you know, that's kind of showing that it's good to you, at least, in a way. Hope that makes sense, right? Like, a dangerous man who has that under control is a good man compared to someone who isn't. Like, a demon really isn't evil, because that, like traditional demon, red skin, horns, born in hell, they don't know any different. They're just a victim of their programming and conditioning. Like, something that's truly evil is that which is known both sides, which is known good, known evil, known them both 100%, and then chosen to be evil. And to be evil means to commit things, it means to violate the consent of the most innocent things you can find. So that's why these people rape children, because they're truly innocent, right? And, you know, if you kill an innocent child, that's a lot worse than killing someone who is a child rapist, or a fucking, you know, a murderer or a torturer. If you kill them, it's not really as bad as killing something that's innocent. That's what evil is. Like, but if you're unable to commit evil in the first place, well, you're not free, and you're not whole, you're incomplete, you're not even a being, you're nothing. Like, you're half, you're incomplete. It's, yeah, anyway, I've gone over that a lot. I hope that makes sense. If that doesn't, write in the comments and I'll try and make it more clear. I tell thee, thou shalt not depart thence till thou hast paid the very last mite. Luke 12, some stupid Bible scripture thing. Okay, here, this title chapter is titled Spiritual Vacation. Those souls who earn a vacation to enter into the heavens. Those souls who earn a vacation enter into the heavens. Their experience there is determined by how much they earn. If someone did a lot of sacrifice for humanity, sacrifice, I fucking hate the idea of sacrifice. It just disgusts me to the core. Like the whole thing of Jesus on the cross wearing that around your neck, it just fucking disgusts me. It's so evil and heinous. And it's not even that it's evil and heinous. If you know it's evil and heinous and you wear that around your neck, sure, that's okay. But it's when you deny that fact, right? People who do that, they believe Jesus is their God, their savior and their hero, and they look up to him. But yet they wear his bloody corpse, his mangled corpse, on the torture device and the death device that was used to kill him. It's like, if you respect and look up to your dad, you love your dad, right? And he was massacred by a bunch of crazy people and they chopped his head off with a chainsaw. Out of a sign of respect, would you then wear a necklace of a chainsaw and his severed head around your neck? Are you fucking sick in the head? People wearing this cross, stop it. Stop it. It's weird and it's creepy. It's freaky. It's not right. Unless you're a full-blown cannibalistic Satanist and you're proud of that. That's a totally different story. I hate that shit. It's so weird. No, there's no excuse for it. It's weird. Stop it. Sacrifice. You don't need to sacrifice anything. If you're sacrificing, you're doing it wrong. Again, I say, help and assist people, but if it's of negative detriment to you, well, stop it. Don't. You have to look after yourself first. Because how are you meant to help anyone else if, a fireman, if he's going into a fire to save someone, right, and he goes in and there's one kid in the front room and one kid in the back, and there's big logs in the way and the fire's blazing, and he goes in, saves the first one, and he goes back in and he's looking and he's like, oh man, I can't breathe, I'm coughing, there's so much smoke, there's fire here. And he's like, should I sacrifice myself to save that kid in the back room? Well, no, because you can't. You're just going to die. You'll sacrifice yourself. And then you'll die, right? And you won't be able to even get the kid. Oh, he sacrificed trying to save that kid. And then you won't be able to help the next time. Unless you went into that first room, you grabbed the kid, you were able to get them out, and you shielded that kid with your body, and then you died. Okay, that's a different story, but I still don't like it, the idea of sacrifice. Find a way where you don't need to sacrifice yourself to do a good deed. There's ways it could be done, right? Instead of running inside the room, smash the window on the outside, grab the kid and pull them out through the window. Don't sacrifice yourself thinking it's some noble cause. It's not. It's just feeding the entities who feast on that shit and fucking froth on the idea of sacrifice. Why do you think that was so ingrained into the mentality of people all across the world, especially with Christianity and the sacrifice of Jesus? Because it's just it's like caviar to these people, these things. They love it, they froth on it. Sacrifice is disgusting. Where was I? Yep. Gandhi, who sacrificed his entire life to help his fellow countrymen. Well, why did he do that? No, I don't think he actually did. He just helped other people because he liked it. That's fine. And suffered a lot to help people. Well, don't suffer to help people. Help people without suffering. It's not a noble thing to suffer when you help someone. A soul like that can earn a vacation in nirvana. They can earn a break from suffering. Go do a Vipassana meditation course, yeah. Gautama Buddha's teachings, and Goenka talks about that. You can find his work on YouTube. You can control your suffering here and now. I feel I've actually done that. Since December 2021, when I did that course, I haven't really suffered at all compared to in the past. I used to suffer a lot more. Sure, I get fucking frustrated and close to suffering, but I'm able to recognize that pattern and that downward spiral and pull myself out before it happens, Whereas in the past, I've suffered for months and months, 6 months at a time, right? That's nasty. You don't even want to suffer for days at a time. Not cool, not cool. Even though there's plenty of things to suffer about here, this world's been totally designed to be a realm of suffering. That's what it is. That's what it is. It goes beyond suffering, bloody torment, and then torture, then agony. Ugh. That breakdown, that break is a break from their own ego. The ego still exists, the ego is still in hell. But the soul, the essence, the consciousness is taken out and given a vacation. Those who walk the nirvanic spiral path, and this here says Shravakanas and Pratakabuddhas, an interesting word, whatever, it's probably Sanskrit, can also earn some minor vacations because they have spent time purifying themselves. They have not helped others that much, but they have a limited some ego, and through that they earn small vacations. No, well, I won't be earning a small vacation. I will be returning to my true state of being forever and ever until I please or choose to do something that is different. That's what I'm doing. Those are the only ways we can earn them. Vacations in nirvana, heaven, are not just given out for free. Nothing is free. Everything is earned. Well, this information I'm giving you right now is free. I don't expect anything in return. I'm just doing this because I want to do it. Because I know you will benefit and I enjoy it at the same time. It's mutually beneficial. So there you go. That's free. You don't need to earn this. I give it away. Have it. As I explained, those souls receive that experience in relation to what they have earned. It is not a permanent liberation. It is temporary liberation because the ego is still alive. The only souls that can enter, like, I don't think the ego is, you know, there's like books. Ryan Holiday wrote a book like The Ego is the Enemy. I read that. That was decent, but I'm not sure if the ego is the enemy. It's just like, it's a tool you can use. You don't identify with. You don't have to be it, but you can use it sometimes, and it could be fun, right? I need to think about that more. Maybe do another video about that because I'm still learning. Man, the ego is an interesting thing, but so, like, I'm very cognizant of when I'm acting from an egotistical point of view. Say for fame, I'm like, I want to put all these videos out there and get a huge following and be famous and have everyone look up to me and idolize me and love me. It's like, well, hold on, wait, why would I want that? Ego. Oh, okay. No, well, I'm not making these videos on my channel, not doing my work for that following, right? I'm not doing this from an egotistical place. And if I was, then when I don't get all these views and a big fan base and all this audience, then you suffer, right? Because it's coming from ego. But when it's not coming from ego, you're like, I'm doing this because it's not that I feel obligated. It's a little bit obligated per se, because so many other people have made great content and benefited me and got me to this point. It's like, am I able to do this to help others? Yes. Do I enjoy doing it? Yes. What else am I going to do with my time? I don't know. Like, here we go. Do I want to do this? Yup. Does it need to be done at the same time? Yes, it also does need to be done. So, what if no one watches it at all? Oh, well, okay. Doesn't bother me. It's not coming from a place of the ego. Okay. They are the only souls that can enter into the heavenly realms and nirvanic realms and remain there are those who have earned it. In other words, they have elevated their consciousness that it belongs in that level. You got to know already at this point you belong in your true state of being, just as a given. In other words, they are angels or Buddhas. They may still have a percentage of ego, and because of that, with that ego, yeah, you can have it but not use it. Like with that ego, I was saying I have that, and it's like, oh, I feel that. Am I doing this from ego? It's like, I can have it, but I don't need to identify or use it. You can have it there if I want it for some reason. If I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going out on a date with a girl, and I want to dress up to look good. Well, you know, most likely that's coming from a place of ego. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to identify with that ego right now. I'm going to do that. Or I want to go to the gym and make my body look nice, my biceps and chest and all that look good. Why? Oh, that's ego. Yep, that's okay. Am I fully identifying with it and being attached to it? No. It's like, if I don't make my body look like that or wear these clothes, am I going to be okay or suffer or be upset? No. But I choose to do it. That's, yeah, it's being aware and tempered with your ego. It's probably a very long journey. Yeah. In other words, percentage of ego, but the consciousness, and because of that, they will descend back in order to eliminate that ego, but the consciousness can stay at a certain level. It's like kind of, I was going to say the ego is a personality. Not sure. But the consciousness can stay at a certain level according to what they have earned, and only for a given period of time. Eventually karma will pull them back. Opposing that are those who did not earn a vacation at all, which, to be frank, is pretty much all of us. Unless we have, well, actually at the same time he's right, yeah, most people haven't done anything. Unless we have done some very serious work and some very rigorous sacrifice for others. Unless we work on our ego and sacrifice for others. Oh, stop it. It's like I used to have a boot camp center as a personal trainer, fat loss specialist. I helped hundreds and hundreds, like, I don't know, 500 people or something. Like, burn body fat, get into a better shape, drop heaps of kilos, get healthier, fitter, mentally stronger. So many people told me I changed their lives and they loved the boot camp and everything was great. I didn't sacrifice anything. I was doing it was win-win. Like, I was getting to train them, I was getting paid, I was enjoying my time, I was teaching them, and they were receiving all the benefits, they were getting trained and learning how to eat, and it was mutually beneficial, not sacrificial. They didn't sacrifice for me, I didn't sacrifice for them, but we both benefited. We cannot expect a vacation in heaven, our karma is too strong. We should expect hell, and do everything we can to avoid it. Don't expect hell, don't even think that. It's just like, no, that's not a possibility for me. Not at all. Well, for me, with my psychosis, the real dark night of the soul, I've already been there, I've already done that. And I survived. I've already won, I've beaten it, it's over. It's not going to happen again. And do everything we can to avoid it. But do not assume that because you are a Gnostic student, or belong to whatever religion, that you are automatically getting a ticket to heaven. It is not going to happen, I promise you. Nothing is given for free. You can belong to any group you want. Nothing is given for free, except for bloody Centrelink money. Well, not really. You've got to exchange your bloody dignity for that one. You can belong to any group you want. Well, I don't know, sometimes you may as well rip off the government. Oh, that's a different story. Because then they're ripping off everyone else to take their tax to then fund Centrelink, etc. You can belong to any group you want. That does not give you anything internally. You can have all the religious books in your house. You can have a beautiful altar and go to church, temple or school every week. Good for you. But that does not prevent you from going to hell. Hell is related to the contents of your mind, the contents of your heart. Well, in a way, yes, I do agree with that. If you haven't conquered yourself, if you're still full of guilt and shame from things you've done, if you're unsure of yourself, if you're not confident in your sovereignty, if you're still full of religious programming from Christianity about hell, and if you're scared and afraid and fearful of the cabal and all the evil shit they do, yeah, you probably will project hell, like, at some point. You've got to overcome all those things I just mentioned. There are some rare cases of NDEs where they have hell-like experiences. Listen, in hell, there are millions of souls who still go to church. They do not know they are dead. Yeah, it's called Earth. But they still read the scripture and pray and go to church. It is sad to see. Don't go to church. Ugh. The infernal worlds. So, if we have to pay karma by processing through the infernal worlds, hell, then that will be our experience after death. But that does not last forever. This is a great misconception propagated by many religions nowadays, that heaven and hell are forever. They are not eternal. The places exist forever, but the souls do not stay there forever. It would make no sense to have to pay forever for a mistaken action. God is not a tyrant who wants people to suffer for eternity. God is a God of love. Christ is pure love. Hell was established by Christ as an act of love. What the fuck? What mind-bending stupidity is this? To purify those souls who are not able to purify themselves. Wow. Okay. Like, in all of their omniscience and brilliance, they couldn't think of any other way. There was no better way. Thus, a trip through hell will be an experience sustained as long as it is needed to clean the soul of its crimes. Do not think I didn't do much that was bad, so I will only be there for a couple of days. I wish it was like that, but it is not. We have had many bodies, many lifetimes. For all of us, it is more than 100 lives in humanoid bodies. Oh man, yeah, I hope not. And we have had a lot of karma to answer for, a lot of pride, a lot of envy, a lot of anger, a lot of lust, and that has to be purified from our consciousness. What a wrecked system. What a stupid system. Like, who would, like, unless you're a sick, twisted, evil prick, who would build a universe or a world that worked like that? Like, I mean, in a way, from the spiritual level, we probably did it ourselves. So we're probably just as responsible in a way, unfortunately. But we can correct our errors. So we will enter into those worlds and gradually descend from level to level into deeper and deeper and more intense applications of pressure and heat, which pulverizes the defects that we have. It is not pleasant. If you ever had a nightmare, you have tasted it. Hell is extremely unpleasant. Many people ask, are the souls conscious of being in hell? Are they aware of the suffering? And the question is absolutely yes. The worst suffering on earth is still far easier than any suffering in hell. Believe me, you do not want to end up there. Now, I don't think you would. No. The consciousness has to be freed from its bondage. If we do not free it on our own, nature will do it for us, but it's very painful. I mean, I guess I can see a bit of merit in this, especially when I went through my psychosis. That was like going through hell, the fires of hell, and it did burn off some defects and guilt. It was interesting, but it's like, really, was there no other way? Shocking, it shouldn't have been that awful. The nature of the consciousness is to perceive, it is to be aware. That is its nature, but we have trapped it in its defects, in vices. So when that consciousness passes through hell, and hell is pulverizing those vices to free the soul is aware of that and suffers. It is painful and it lasts as long as it takes to destroy those defects. Hundreds of years, thousands of years. Shouldn't need to take that long. It's like in Sweden, they've got, I think it's Sweden or Norway, they've got this rehabilitation system. Instead of locking people up in a prison and just torturing them, they actually rehabilitate them and they teach them art and music and everything else, and they basically teach them how to be a good person again. So when they leave the rehabilitation centre, the prison in a way, they get their own room and they're treated well. Then they actually become a better person than they went in, and typically better people than the neighbour they will live next to in the future. And it doesn't take that long. Like, it's only going to take as long as someone needs it to take. But the better system you have, teaching someone, well, the less time it's going to take. It's like people that came to my boot camp had a lot quicker success than if they went anywhere else. Like, I'm sure there are other good places as well, but if they went around the corner compared to a different boot camp centre, or they were just at the gym, like, my system worked a lot more effectively and a lot quicker than others because I created a better system. I just had better mechanisms in place that addressed people's weaknesses. Like, if this hell system is that effective, why would it take hundreds of thousands of years? That's not an effective system. That's just showing that it's designed to cause suffering, to extract loosh. So Bob Monroe talks about that. Robert Monroe has lots of out-of-body experience stuff. I'm actually learning more about that. Journeys Out of the Body, like a 10-hour audiobook you can find on YouTube. I'm going through that, and other people in the after-death experience research field, right? They talk about them quite a lot, and he explains that these entities, they farm humans, or spirits in human bodies, right, for loosh. That's what it's called. That's the energy they extract and they feast on. Right? They need it. And so, I even read one thing that was this guy saw this mantis being, and the mantis being expressed to him that not only do they feed on it, but they use it as a currency. It's like a currency in their culture or their world, like our suffering energy, our loosh energy. Yep, wouldn't be surprised, eh? Yeah. Okay, so what is this? I'll have to turn a light on here in a minute. Vestibule, the indifferent. Limbo, the lustful, the gluttonous. Oh, this is kind of like Dante's bloody circle, Dante's Inferno. On the left it says incontinence, violence. What's that say? Fraud. Fraud, okay. Second death. Oh, Dante's Inferno is right at the bottom, okay. Traitors, who are traders, who trade on the stock market, bonds and stocks and blocks and chains and crypts. Bloody hell. The Abyss, Seventh Circle, some interesting stuff. What's that? Flatterers. Oh, I hope you can see that. Flatterers, soothsayers, grafters, hypocrites. Sort of bad people, okay. Heretics, the wrathful. The evolution. Oh. Interesting, okay. What do you reckon? Not yet. I won't turn the lights on yet. I've still got enough light. Look into your own mind. What defects do you have and how hard are they? How deep, how strong? That will give you an indication of what you have to look forward to if you do not eliminate them now on your own. Well, it is very serious business. Gradually, all the souls who enter into the hell realms are brought through that recycling machine of nature. And all the forces of nature. Well, nature's not just nature. Something created nature. Nature just didn't pop into existence. Nature has an intelligence behind it. Just look at it. Like, oh, nature. It's like, no, it's an intelligent design. If you just had like a hurricane or say a tornado go through a junkyard, the rubbish tip, like, do you think that tornado is going to be able to assemble a full Boeing 747 and make it work? Not in 100 trillion years. You could have a tornado, you could have an infinity of different rubbish yards, right? With a tornado going through all of them for an infinity of time. And you will never, ever, ever get a fully assembled Boeing 747. No, won't happen by chance. With an infinity times infinity, that will not happen. You need an intelligence. Nature has been designed by an intelligence. Something that is intelligent, not a random fluke. That is absolutely preposterous. Preposterous! So when you're saying that recycling machine of nature, no, it's not of nature, it's of something's design. Something has designed that. And all the forces of nature, the enemy's design, work to pulverize the defects until the end. Depending on the karma of the soul, it is projected out of hell clean and able to start again in a new cycle of evolution in another age. Why do you think they call them errors of the ages? They're errors. E-R-A, right? Because it's an error. E-R-R-O-R. Error. Error. System error. That's why they're errors, yeah? Because they are errors. Alright, there's a conscious evolution in higher kingdoms. Humanoid kingdom, animal, plant, mineral. Interesting. So, rock, flower, donkey, human. Okay, descending arch. De-evolution, decay, regression, generation, growth, progression. Okay, cool. We'll put the light on now. Yep. And here we go. 2 lights. Now you can see me. Remember also that time is relative. The experience of time in hell is extremely slow. You will not have your iPod so you can pass the time. You won't have a good book to read or a TV to watch. You will be revisiting and replaying the causes of your crimes so you learn about the suffering they cause. When all of our debts are paid, the soul is freed from that realm in order to begin a new cycle, having gained nothing. But having gained what? When all of our debts are paid, the soul is freed from that realm in order to begin a new cycle, having gained nothing but a lot of suffering. Okay, sounds like a bloody awful system. This guy sounds like a Christian at heart. Alright. Some people mistakenly believe that they can take the path through hell as a spiritual path. Okay, I do like what the Buddha said. He said, quoted, when he dies, he wouldn't care if he went to hell. He wouldn't mind, because if he went to hell after death, he wouldn't suffer, because he knows how to control his suffering, and he'd just help everyone else there to overcome their suffering. So he was like, man, if I go to hell, it's alright, I don't care. I won't suffer, I'll be fine. I was like, oh, that's boss ass, that's cool. I do like a lot of the things the Buddha said, a lot more than Jesus or Muhammad or any of these other bloody fakers. Like Gautama Buddha actually had some good teachings, some real teachings. Not like, turn your cheek and get slapped on the other side of your face, just be a little bitch and take it. Yes, give us as much loot and suffering as possible. Gross. Some people mistakenly believe that they can take the path through... I said that. This is a very popular concept, even if you haven't heard of it now. It is very popular amongst groups, many groups, in the Kabbalah, Jewish groups, Buddhist Tantra, Hindu Tantra. This is a popular notion. You may not be introduced to it in the introductory levels of those schools, but as you start to awaken your consciousness negatively... Awaken your consciousness negatively? Whoa, bloody hell. Hold on. Okay, you just popped out of my tripod. Oh, man. Alright, let's pop that back in there. Gave me a bit of a fright. That was some excitement. That was definitely some excitement. Wow. Very fun. Something was trying to get some loose energy, some loose fear out of me by popping that tripod out. Okay. We good? We working? Nothing's broken? Alright, let's do this. So, where was I? Yeah, I was saying, but as you start to awaken your consciousness negatively, they will start to reveal to you their intention, which is to indulge in the ego, to fatten the ego, to make it as heavy and dense as possible in order to propel themselves through hell. Unfortunately, their logic is all backwards. They ignore karma, cause and effect. They think that by making a big fat ego, that by means of its density they can project themselves out the other side more rapidly and acquire more knowledge. Weird. But they are ignoring that everything you do has a consequence. Every time they deepen an ego, they acquire consequences that must be paid. So actually their suffering is deepened. I'm just going to turn the brightness down on my phone. It doesn't need to be bright. I'm just saving this battery. That doesn't make much sense. I've never heard of this concept before. But they are ignoring that everything you do has a consequence. They acquire consequences that must be paid, so actually their suffering is deepened. They are delaying their progress and just acquiring more and more debts. So be aware of what you're studying can involve. If that was true, what he was saying, well then obviously if you built your ego, you're going to be in this hell realm for longer, burning more of it off. Right, okay, whatever. Makes no sense. Pop that down a fraction. So this next chapter is called The Different Levels of Nature. What you see on this chart are levels of nature. The heavens correspond to regions of light that we cannot perceive with our physical senses. The hells correspond to opposed regions of light that we cannot see with our physical senses. It could be like light or matter and antimatter. Interesting. Like, you know that the figure 8 on the side, the infinity symbol, the heaven and hell realms. Look, they probably do exist as well. Like, they seem like they do, but it's just we're not going to have anything to do with them because we're going right through it. We're not going to be subjected to this system, the nature of this world. In other words, the heavens relate to ultraviolet levels of light and the hells to infrared. You like the purple and red at the different ends of the spectrum. Actually heard a guy who had the NDE with the skateboard accident, and he met Anubis with his heart. He was telling me those two colours, the ultraviolet and infrared, was super important for some reason. Another thing to clarify to you is that these forms of light, these levels of existence, are not in some other place. They are right here, we just cannot see them. Your consciousness can develop the ability to see them if you awaken. It's like, when you think of a green truck, it's like a fully bright fluorescent green truck driving past you. Well, it's happening like out there, but in here at the same time. It's happening in the same place. It's just a virtual different layer, right? Like, I could be thinking of a green truck, you could be thinking of a green truck, but they're not going to crash. Like, they're not going to interfere. It's different. Your consciousness can develop the ability to see them if you awaken. Interesting. When a soul is disincarnated, it enters into the fifth dimension, which is a region of light that is not physically perceptible, but is clairvoyantly perceptible. In other words, the fifth dimension is here and now. We just do not see it. That is why, occasionally due to atmospheric effects or energetic effects, you can sometimes see the dead. I've heard of people doing this. Usually when we see someone who is dead, it is the disincarnated personality. It is the old personality that has not yet decayed and is just wandering around. I think there's some theories that, yeah, they're just like a program that's trapped and locked and they can't learn anything new. I'm not sure of that though. I had an experience with this a few years ago. I was laying down to sleep doing my dream yoga practice, maintaining cognizance of myself. And then I saw an old woman come in the room very angry, yelling, "What are you doing here?" She had a Polish accent. She said, "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. Get out." I just looked at her calmly and said a little prayer and she dissolved. It was an old personality of a woman who used to live in that apartment and who still has not been decayed by nature. It was not her soul, it was her personality. Ah, okay. Interesting. So if you are falling asleep or you are having a drowsy state or there are atmospheric effects, that level of nature can become visible. Most of what people report as ghosts are just that, disincarnated personalities. Graveyards are filled with them. Graveyards, cemeteries and tombs are filled with decaying corpses, which are filthy and disgusting. True. Also, they are disincarnated personalities who dissolve in proportion to the decay of the body slowly, especially if the body has been filled with embalming fluid or other chemicals to preserve it. The body can be there for hundreds of years. That creates an obstacle for the person that died. The matter and energy that creates an obstacle, a problem. Oh, then, yeah. It is compassionate to cremate as it frees the soul from those bonds. I've heard that, like when you die, you must be cremated. Otherwise, there's a link back and an attachment to the body. I don't care. I'll look after and care for this thing right now because I'm in it. But when I'm not in it, it's like, okay, but I don't care what happens to you, mate. It's like, all right, see ya. I'm like, have a good one. Bye-bye. I'm gone. See ya. It doesn't matter if you're buried, or this thing is buried, or burnt, or bloody, I don't know, thrown off a cliff. I don't care. Doesn't matter. See ya, it's just a vessel. Bye-bye, I don't need it anymore. So the next chapter is treatment of the body after death. It is a tradition of most Western religions nowadays to bury the dead. This is a very unfortunate tradition as it harms the dead and it harms the living. That could make sense as well. There could be something to that. Because how much do people pay for a coffin and into the burial plot? And there's a lot of money that goes into that as well. And it takes up space. Like, say if this was a good realm, it would be wiser to burn the dead, to get rid of them. So then you're not taking up space for cemeteries. You don't have to build coffins and dig holes. Like, just burn the dead, get rid of them. It's a more efficient process. Okay. The belief. This is a very unfortunate tradition as it harms the dead and it harms the living. The belief arose because of a misinterpretation of Jewish and Christian scripture, in which it is said that in a future age the Messiah is going to come and raise the dead from their graves. People mistakenly took that literally and thought they had to prepare the physical body in a nice suit ready to go to heaven. This is a misinterpretation. Unfortunately, it is the origin of many illnesses and sicknesses and a lot of black magic. If you have a choice and you are serious in these types of studios, do not be buried. Have your body cremated. Cremation annihilates and completely destroys all that physical matter, liberates all the energy from that matter, and quickly severs a connection to the personality, so that the soul, the consciousness, becomes free of those attachments and those bonds that draw the dead back to earth, to the physical level. This is important. Still, I'll just be like, I don't care. Bye. Like, I know I'm not my body already. I'm not this face, I'm not this hair, I'm not this handsome mug right now. Oh, damn, so good looking. Like, no, I'm beyond that. Right? This is important. If you're a member of the second chamber, there are rituals that can be done after you die. But it is necessary that your body is present for the ritual if possible. If you're a member of the second chamber, I don't know what that is. So if you're someone who is in the second chamber and wants to have that ritual done, you might want to include that in your will or any statement. A will. Because, free will, willpower. I don't think you'd really want to write a will. There could be some deep, secret, dark, occultist, black magic, weird, hypnotic, subliminal shit going on with writing a will. I bet there fucking is. I don't know what it is, but I can feel there's something there. If you know, write in the comments. Or any statement to your family that you want your body to be present at a ritual for the good of your soul. In some traditions, like in Tibetan Buddhism and Hinduism, the body is kept at a certain location for a certain period of time in order to allow rituals to be performed, and also to allow the soul to gradually realize they are dead. It gives them an opportunity to come face to face with their corpse and see it and know they are dead. So judging from all NDEs, people know they're dead instantly. Like, they're like, oh, wow, reality's a lot more real. I feel so much better. Oh, this is great. Oh. And then some cases they actually fly off and they go back to places they're attached to, like their home or their workplace, and they hover around people they're still in love with and they're attached to. Other times they'll see that tunnel and they see the entities, and then on rare experiences they actually seem to bolt straight back to true source, which sounds quite interesting. There's Wayne Bush has got a good website about this, actually. I might put it into the comments below this. Yeah, sure, alright, I'll do that. In some traditions, like in Tibetan Buddhism and Hinduism, the body is kept... Oh no, I read that. Okay. This can be helpful, especially for someone who does not have a lot of training. So in certain traditions, we want to have lots of training. So in certain traditions, the body can be kept on hand for 3 days or as much as 40 days. And there are special techniques for keeping the body for that length of time. Generally, the 40 days are for trained practitioners. They can help them move on to a new birth. No, I don't want a new birth. No, I'm not taking 40 days. There's this whole mythology around 40 days in the afterlife, astro-etheric realms, before you can do anything else. It's like, no, not doing that. I'm doing what I want. That's it. No. Okay, the next chapter is the dimensional experience after death. I'm going to cut this pretty soon, this part, the end of part 2. Alright, I'll finish this chapter, because my mouth and tongue, my physical body actually gets tired from speaking so much. So this will be the last one. So what about this diagram? Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and then it's got the opposite reversed. This diagram represents levels of light in nature. You probably already know that with our physical senses we only perceive a very narrow band of light that is being radiated in space around us. Yep, we only see an extremely small range of light. All around us, the visible light spectrum. All around us is a huge range of light, which is solar light, solar from the sun, and it illuminates many other dimensions of nature that we do not see physically. In other words, the dead are all around us, but we do not see them. There are other races, other life forms all around us about which we have no knowledge. Yeah, some people have said that. When we die and are freed of the physical limitations, the consciousness is projected into the 5th dimension. In that dimension, we see a much broader range of light. The 5th dimension is under the influence of a lunar energy, the energy of the moon. And a lot of NDEs, they actually say that they see colours and lights and things, like especially the colours that don't exist here. So yeah, they do. They're open to a different band of light frequency. The 5th dimension is under the influence of a lunar energy, the energy of the moon. Yuck. This level is called limbo. It is like an antechamber, a place from which we go to other places. In that region, we find many dead people, and they are not aware that they are dead. After we pass through the process, because they were dead in this life, you go around getting these things, you're already dead. A walking zombie. After we pass through the process of judgment, where we relive our existence and we receive our path to go forward, we will experience either the higher or lower aspects of these ranges of light. In his book, The Book of the Dead, Samuel Anwer explained the path of a disincarnated soul who earned an experience in nirvana. He explained in detail what the soul perceives as it gradually has its vacation, descending up through these levels, influenced by the moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, and finally Saturn. Sure, they put Saturn at the top, which is like Saturn. It's an urn, right? It's ashes for the dead. That's where the urn was sat. That type of vacation is a small mirror image, a reflection of the experiences that a soul passes through in the advanced stages of initiation or full awakening. I'm going to explain this clearly because I do not want you to misunderstand this. After you have died, if you have earned a vacation, if you've been a good boy or girl, you get to go, Daddy God tells you can go for a holiday away from terrible, nasty, suffering Earth, and you can have a little holiday, and then you can go back to Earth, and then maybe you go to hell again, and then you have a little holiday, and suffer on Earth again, and then go to hell for eternity. Sounds brilliant, doesn't it? Oh, disgusting, boring, gross, abomination, exterminatus. Ugh. If you've earned a vacation, you can have a brief experience what it's like to be fully awake, fully enlightened, and experience a nirvana. So why wouldn't you stay there? No. But in levels, the soul can traverse through the different planes, the different regions of the superior worlds. If that soul does not have training, if it doesn't have cognizance of itself or religion, it could come back into this world and think that it is liberated, that it is a Buddha, when really it is not. The same type of experience can be had in meditation, where people can earn a trip through these elevated regions and then come back and think, I was in nirvana, I must be a great master. Great master, I'm so great, listen to me. Ugh, ego. This is a very naive mistake, but a common one. And there are many who claim to be in the incarnation of such and such a person, a great master come back to earth and so on, when they're really not different from anyone else. They just have a fat ego of pride. Oh, I will mention, a lot of people see these entities of these ascended masters, all that stupid bullshit, the lords of karma and, yeah, ascended masters. And like, hey, go towards the Buddhas, the ascended masters. No, don't do that. If you do that, it just means you didn't learn enough in this life. Learn. Know the truth. On the obverse side, those who have a trip through the infernal worlds also pass through regions influenced by the planets. But these are the infernal aspects. So, the dead travel in the regions of the moon, and the regions of Mercury, and the regions of Venus, and these regions are well described by Dante in his book, The Divine Comedies. Oh, such a comedy. Oh, yes, the journey of life, the suffering and cruelty of earth life, yeah. In each level, there are different psychological influences. Different aspects of the psyche become more readily apparent because they are under the influence of those planets. So if you study the Qliphoth or the books or scriptures about hell, you will understand why the planets are related to those spheres and why the dead pass through them. And why the dead pass through those spheres. Interesting, because some people talk about the sun and the moon as being portals. It is important that we grasp this polarity in nature, superior worlds and inferior worlds. They reflect each other. There is a tree of life in the heavens and a tree of death in the hells. Where we go depends on the content of our mind. In the next chapter is the training. So that's enough for part 2. I'll see you on part 3. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this valuable. Bye-bye. G'day there, James Bartolo here. If you find this video valuable, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe.